All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. And today we're going to be doing a quick little design. Some of y'all saw my countdown to retirement sign that I made. And a lot of people have said that they would like to have something similar for counting down to Christmas or other holidays. And the way this works is it's got these little inserts here that you can rearrange and put whatever number of days that you want to put in there up to 999. So this was one that I just made for myself. I made it to stay here in the shop just to count down until my day of retirement. But some folks saw it and liked the idea and wanted me to make one for Christmas. Now, this one was kind of a work in progress. I just kind of made it as I went for specific need. The Christmas one I think needs to be a little smaller, but you can scale it up if need to. So that's what we're going to do today. Is we're going to create something similar to this, but a little smaller so that you guys can make it without having to use an entire sheet of plywood. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and we're going to get LightBurn and knock it out. All right, guys, so let's drop down in LightBurn. I'm going to be using the profile for the X40 just because it's got bigger work area to build the file. You don't have to have a machine this size to make it. You just need to have a bigger work area as its largest piece. So, and we're going to try to keep this one kind of small. So let's get down into the computer and get started. All right, so the very first thing we're going to need to do, guys, is decide how big do we want this thing. I'm thinking with this one, I think we do like a 12 by 9 or so to keep it, you know, moderately sized. So that way it could be, I mean, you could always stretch it and make it bigger, and we'll go over that toward the end of the video in case you want to do it. So we'll start out at 300 by 200. That way this thing can be fairly small. And you can do it out of a smaller piece of material without breaking the bank. So we're going to go ahead and create a box. I'm going to make this box 300 wide and 200 tall. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that. So, well, I need to do better than do that. And then once I get that set, we're going to lock that so that it can't move. Now, I like rounded corners. To me, it just gives it more of a finished look. So I'm going to go down here and hit the radius tool. And then click on this guy, and I'm going to round these corners a little bit, just enough to, you know, give it that finished look. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay the graphics out the way that I see it being. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 text boxes because I want to have the days until, and then I want to have down here at the bottom, I want to have Christmas, but I want to have it in a lot bigger text and maybe a little nicer, like more of a script type text. So we're going to go up here and I'll change that, pull this around, and we'll just kind of center this right there. Make sure we get that right. And then this one here, we're going to take and change this text here over to something. I want this to be kind of, there we go, kind of plain. I just want this to be basically letting you know that this is a countdown until Christmas. And you can do yours differently if you want. This is just, like I said, this is just personal preference, however you want it to be. Okay, I want to see how big these fonts need to be. There we go. So that's, I think that's big enough to go along with this. So that kind of flows okay. So that'll be the size of our font. And I'm just going to go ahead and set it in the center. But what I want to do is I want to pull this down to the bottom a little bit. Because with this is going to insert into this piece here. But I want enough around this text here for the numbers to line up over there. So we're just going to take that and sit that up like this, and then I'm going to take me another box. Hang on, let me figure out what the size on this guy is. All right, so this box, we'll make it 60 by 100, just to keep it easy to remember. So we're going to make that one 60 by 100. And then I'm going to create another box And I'm going to make this box 60 by 60. And you'll see why here in just a second. What I'm trying to do now is I want to take my text. I want to have a place that I can put my text and use it to align it. So we'll just set that. I got that 60 by 60. Let me unlock it because it needs to be a little taller. So we'll set that to 80. All right. And I'm just going to take this little box here and I'm going to align it to that one because I want to use this tool line as kind of a way of centering my text. I click this number, I click this box, and I hit that button. It's going to center. It's going to center whatever the letter is. It's going to center it here, but it's going to leave this tab sticking up so that I can have it come out of there. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to radius all of these as well. So I'm going to come in here and radius all of those. All right, so this is going to be basically, guys, this is going to be a rinse and repeat process. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to put in the number 1. And then all I got to do is leave that selected, hold control, click the little tool line, and hit the little bullseye to center that up. And I'm just going to keep pasting and do this. Now, I could have created me a spreadsheet and set up variable text. But to be honest with you, no more of these than I've got to do, no harder than it is. I just assume go ahead and do it this way. All right, so that saves you a little headache watching all that. So I'm going to go through here, select all these guys, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute those along that line. And then I'm going up here to align them horizontally. That's just what I'm doing to make my OCD a little more comfortable. So there's our numbers. What I will do is need to copy one of these out just for my design purposes here. Actually, I'm going to need 3 of them totally, but we'll do it by hand here. I'm going to use this button to distribute them horizontally, and what that does is that evenly spaces them across that horizontal axis, and then I'm going to use this guy to align them. That way they're not crooked. And we're going to set this in here. So this is where the design is going to have to kind of come into play. Is what I'm wanting is I'm wanting this to be here in the middle. So I'm going to have to center these. What I want is I want the numbers to be shown through here, but not completely, because I'm planning on doing an offset right here. So let me go ahead and select these, and then I'm going to select this. I'm going to duplicate just those lines, and I'm going to move this over here, and I'll show you what I'm doing here in just a second. So on this side over here, what I want to do is I'm going to take these 3 right here, and I'm just going to group them. Now, I'm going to use the offset tool, because what I want to do is I want it to have a lip to where you can see the letters, but not the whole. I don't want the whole thing exposed right here. So there we go. So that's going to give me, let's do 8. That's a little much. That's plenty. That right there. That works. All right, so that's going to give me windows basically for these to be viewed. The top's a little high. I don't like that. So we'll just go ahead. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to select those 3. I'm going to compress them just a little because I don't like that top being that far up, because I don't need it up there. So there we go. There's where I want those cuts. And now I'm going to take these 3 here. I'm just going to get rid of those. That gives you an idea of what I'm going for. I want these little windows right here to see the numbers through. So I'm going to lock all that in place. This right here is, I'm going to leave those in there just for, so you know what that is. But those are just the windows. And then the text, I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is aligned perfectly. Nope, it wasn't. So I'm going to group that text, and then I'm going to align it with the outer box as well. And once I get all that aligned, I'm grouping that. All right, so now with these, we'll select the biggest one, select the smaller one, use the tool, Now we got clean edges. So we can go back here. 2.5 on the radius. All right. There we go. Got that. And then for the very back piece, we're just going to need a flat piece like that to put on the back. Now, up here on the front, if you don't want the cards kind of showing through, kind of like that one, where the cards show up through the top like that, you can always raise this top piece and extend it or stick something to it or whatever. So I'll show you what I'm talking about on that. So on the front right here, if we didn't want this showing right there, let's just take that and we'll duplicate it and we'll move it up to where the cards are behind it. All right. And then we're going to take and weld those two together. And there we go. So that way now you can see by the outline, the cards will actually be completely behind the sign. So if I wanted to add some more decor to it, as far as the Christmas stuff goes, we can take and we can add some little stars. And now we actually know where everything is going to be. I'm going to take that little star and I'm going to mirror it so that it's kind of facing the other way to keep them a little more random. Resize that one just a little. So you get the idea. Now we can decorate that however we want. If you wanted a silhouette or a shape or something up here, you could do that as well. And we've got all the pieces. We've got the 3 pieces for the outside as well as the numbers. So I'm gonna go ahead and stack all of this in the work area, and this is why I chose to use the X40. Got a little more work area to play with here. Rotate that 90 degrees. See if we can get this whole thing on one sheet. All right, so far so good. Not quite. So let me move that. See if I can distribute this. See if it'll do it. Hey, look at there. Good guess. All right, so I'm going to select all that. I'm going to line it horizontally. I still got this one little 9 right here giving me fits. So I'm going to move it up here. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to stick it right there. And look at that. We got one set of numbers and our panels done. So, of course, you're probably going to need more than one set of numbers, but we're just going to start with the one set, and then we'll burn another set here in just a minute. So let me get some material loaded up, and we'll get this thing started. All right, guys, got some material loaded up in the enclosure. Now I'm going to go up here, double check my settings. So I think we can probably go 8 on this. This is different material than what I've been using. I've been using the pre-finished, and I've swapped over. This is some of the non-pre-finished stuff that I've had. So I'm trying to use through some of it. So got that set at 8 millimeters a second. That should be adequate. Maybe even a little too slow. Fill 200, 100%, 127, filling all at once. And then of course the two tool lines. I'm going to right click right here at the number sign, sort cuts last, put the cuts last because you don't want to cut and then be trying to engrave afterwards. So if you just want to look at the preview, if you ever, if you need a LightBurn, right click and you can hit the preview button and it'll show you what it's going to look like. And so there we go. Now we're going to send this job out and let it run, and I'll check back with you here shortly, guys. All right, guys, and before anybody asks, I also want to point out to you that this file is very scalable. Now, you're going to want to make sure that every piece gets scaled exactly the same amount so that you don't mess anything up. So we're going to drop down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this file for the Atom Stack Hurricane and show you how I'm going to go about doing it, and we're going to go ahead and cut that out and just show you that everything will still fit together if you do it properly. So whether you're cutting this out on an X40, xTool D1, whatever your machine may be, you can, or your material, if you don't have a lot of material and you want to keep it small, if you want to put it on your desk, whatever the case may be, you can scale this down and it still work correctly as long as you do it the right way. So let's drop down in LightBurn and let's go over the scaling process for this file. All right, so here's the file, the way that we've got it built over in software for the Atom Stack. I've got that one cut out, and I'm going to show it to you in just a second. But what I wanted to do was show you how easy it is to scale this out. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to copy all of this here, just in case. I'm hoping that it doesn't require me to do anything. But when I switch over to the Hurricane, you can see that the work area is significantly smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and update the overlay to get it to fix. So you can see this is a whole lot smaller. So what I'm going to do is, in order to scale this down, you need to select everything in the work area. I'm going to go ahead and lock the aspect ratio on it just to make sure I don't skew up any of the text. It's really not going to matter as far as the shapes goes, but I don't want the text to get skewed. And then we're just going to drag the corner. And doing it this way, I'm resizing every piece of this file, and I'm resizing it exactly the same amount. So no matter what moves or gets resized, it should work out the same. So now I've got the parts that I want to cut. I'm going to move this little guy out of the work area, because you have to do all the parts so that you don't mess things up. But in the event that you do try to scale it and you mess it up, guys, all you really got to do is go back to the zip folder. If you download it from my Etsy shop, just re-download the zip folder or unzip it again and start over from scratch. But once you get those up there, I'm going to go over here to my cuts and layers and just make sure that the settings are the way that I want them. All right, I'm going to frame with the machine, and I'm going to put that on camera so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to frame with the Atom Stack here. This is going to be a significantly smaller version, but you may not want yours big. You may want yours small enough to be something that you can add magnets to and stick it on the refrigerator or whatever. So that's why I decided to include, especially for you guys that maybe are new to this, the process of scaling it down. Once the focus is set, we're going to close the lid on the machine. And I'm going to burn this one, and I'll show you what it looks like and how everything works once we get done. All right, guys, so that's it for the file. As you can see, this is the larger one that I did, and it's currently 64 days until Christmas. So this is the larger design, and using the method that I showed you to where basically just lock the aspect ratio on everything and move all the pieces at one time. This is the downscaled version. And as you can tell, it's basically identical. It's just smaller. So if you have limited material size, or if you just don't want a real big one, if you just want something to put on your refrigerator out of some 3mm material, or even thinner, this is 1/4" material. So it's still kind of beefy. But that's just what I had that I was working with today. This is not some of the pre-finished material that I've been using. This is some unfinished, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've gotten used to the pre-finished. I don't know that I'm going to be able to come back to this unfinished material that I have to sand all the time. But yeah, so the file is definitely scalable. Nothing in here is material specific. So if you get the file and you want it bigger or you want it smaller, you can shrink it, expand it, whatever. Like I said, just follow my directions, lock the aspect ratio just to keep from messing up the font if you're going to use the fonts and the numbers and stuff that I have on here. And then just shrink it down. And you can have small one or bigger one. So, but this is just one of those things that I built the one for my retirement, which, all right, so this is the piece that started all the commotion. This is my days to retirement. I got 344 days, and that's calendar days. remaining until I retire and go full-time here at the shack. And I made this for just to have here at the shop. And people were like, oh, that'd be cool for Christmas. You should make it into a Christmas idea. So that's what I did. The one thing that you'll notice on this one that's a little different is I put these little tabs in here to start with on this one. I removed them for the second version, but after playing around and see, they just slide down into that slot right here to where you can see the numbers from the front. And I removed those from the second edition, but hindsight, it's a little harder to grab a hold of these to pull those out. So before I export the file to Etsy, I'm going to add just a little recess right there, just enough to get maybe like a quarter in or a penny or something, so that if these do get a little sticky or get a little hard to get out, you can grip them. Because hindsight, there's really not a good way to grip these things back here. So I will be adding that back to the file before I export it. But other than that, structurally, the file is going to remain the same, and it will be in the Etsy shop if you're looking for it. So I'm going to drop links down below. If you do make one of these, the thing that you're going to remember is I've only got one set of numbers lined up in there, guys. But especially if you've got 333 days left, you may need to burn extra numbers. You can burn just the numbers that you want, or you can burn multiple sets. But all you got to do is just cut and paste, copy, slide them outside the work area or whatever to burn the numbers. And here's just for comparison. This is a comparison of the original numbers and the downscaled numbers. So that's really all that does, is it just decreases the size. Like I said, nothing in this file is material specific, so that shouldn't be a problem. If you do download the file from my Etsy shop, I'm going to save this file as an SVG as well as a LightBurn file for you guys. May even throw it in there as a library file. That way, if you know how to use LightBurn libraries, it's pretty cool, because if you just need a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, you can just drag that out of the library into the work area and burn those specific numbers. So anyway, check out the links down below, guys. If you hadn't already, hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, be safe and have a good day.